Good day and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament. This is the lovely month of May and we will have a lot of good games because we had 3 recommended to us and a lot of updates, and of course the bots are getting pretty good. I was watching some Crazio versus Antigua games. Antigua, the human player, and Antigua was struggling pretty hard, and I'm so sorry I didn't get you any replays. Next time I will try and badger some of Antigua, so I can show you how good these AIs are actually getting. So for today we'll have to make do with only AI games, and we have got Brian Weber as the yellow Zerg, and the enemy is Styx, a relatively new Zerg, and Styx is going for a very fast lair. At the other end of the map we are going for a fast expand with a pool, and this looks like a sunken, another sunken, and the first Zerglings are going to go and explore the map. Now it's a 2 hatch versus 1 hatch situation, and we are going to see a quick spire. Oh, and the link battles in the middle of the map are going to be a little bit of a standoff. Styx is retiring despite having more Zerglings. Neither of them have any upgrades, and Styx losing a Zergling. Oh, and may yet lose another. Just barely lives. And Styx is a bit of a French Zerg, does a lot of running and not really a lot of fighting, and now retiring to the high ground. But with a couple of Sunkens, this should be a foregone conclusion, because the Sunkens do not hesitate to fight if an enemy Zergling is hitting their turf. Now the Zerglings of Styx are cleaning up the remaining Zerglings of Brian Weber, and then we'll take score. Brian Weber's got 22 workers, 2 bases, probably double the gas income at this point, another hatch in the main but no tech to speak of, and as the spire is done, but we only have got 1 hatch, so that's a bit of a pity. Styx has got 700 in the bank, and had it had another hatchery it could have made a bunch of mutas, and right now it's making 1 muta, 1 worker, and build order-wise that does not appear to be the best. But let's wait and see how things are going to pan out. More Sunkens for Brian Weber. Brian Weber taking... oh dear. And the first muta is going after the Overlord, which will momentarily supply block Brian Weber, and now the mutas are finding another Overlord. We've got 3 mutas. The question is... oh, and another one. That's... oh no, that's Styx's... oh, and we've got 2 sunken spores over here, 1 there, because we've got a sunken colony and we've got, of course, a Hydra den. Problem is, though, that Brian Weber is a sort of supply block, has got a lot of money, has got a lot of larvae, but is also losing a lot of Overlords. That's really unfortunate. Could do with Overlord speed, though, and is it building that? No, it isn't. And wow, that's quick. Hive and another hatchery. The hatchery I agree with. 1 base hive on a muta play. I'm not quite sure what to think of that, but let's see how it's going to pan out. Meanwhile, Brian Weber building a lot of creep colonies, might go for either spore or sunken, and let's see how it's going to go. Another hatch and 3rd base, and Styx, my dear, what is Styx doing? Building a couple of hatches, got a hive, and this is going to be, well, let's see what it's going to be. Oh, the first Hydra is going to get clipped and killed. A couple of workers killed as well. 3rd base completely exposed, but no muta harassed because the mutas are going back to base. Oh, we've got an Ultra cabin, so 1 base muta into Ultra, the new Zerg build order. And now the muta cloud is growing, and Brian Weber keeps losing mutas like a madman. The Hydras are dying, the drones are dying. And then, oh, they find another couple of Overlords. So this is really rather about the Overlord's suicides. And will we have Overlord speed? No, we won't. That's really unfortunate. And by now we go for more mutas. And we've got the first Ultra, so that's pretty good. Meanwhile, the mutas are going after a hatchery. Meanwhile, taking a lot of fire from all the Hydras, and of course 2 spore colonies. And the entire muta fleet perishes for the price of a handful of Hydras. And what's this? We'll see. Let's see what it is. There might be Queen's Nest, because there is some kind of devious plan to prevent the enemy from reaching this building, and then you've got to sacrifice all the mutas for that. Units for Brian Weber getting stuck over here, but the third base is up, so any combat units produced here might exit the base. And this is a lot of spores. Oh, goodness gracious me. Problem, though, for Brian Weber is that there are no Sunkens over here, and the ground defense forces are pretty weak. And oh dear, this Overlord's getting tagged by a lot of Zerglings, but the Mutas come help and clean up. They could perhaps help the thingy out, the Ultra out, but instead they go for another Overlord. They've been trained to kill so many Overlords. This Zergling not doing anything, and this is a nice dance. Meanwhile, Brian Weber is overrun by a handful of Zerglings, and they go to town on the spores. No natural yet. The main is, well, halfway down already, and Styx is doing everything off one base. Oh, the Ultra dies, but the Mutas have things well under control, at least here, and the Zerglings have got things well under control over here. Styx is running away with this game because Brian Weber is scrambling to build any kind of an army. And if you look at the production tab, it's building a lot of Scourge. Oh dear, and the Scourge, they sort of do away with the Muta, but we've got so many Scourge. How many Scourge do you need? And then immediately rebuilding a lot of workers. Problem is not workers, the problem is your army supply being full and consisting of mainly Scourge. Now, Styx is grouping a handful of Zerglings here and there, and has got control of the third base, and Brian Weber completely... Oh, now finally it's building army again. But with the 3-base economy and all these workers it's got, it should easily win this game, but the choices it makes, it's fighting Zerglings with spore colonies and Mutas with a lot of Scourge. It's just not working out for it, and Styx is just going to sit back on his 1-base hive with... no, we need Great Spire, really. But Ultra Muta and a lot of Zerglings, and... oh dear, here comes the Scourge again. Oh, and got a Lurker, so that's going to do a lot of damage. Probably because there are a lot of Zerglings. Oh dear, oh dear. This is not... Oh, this is not going to go well for the Zerglings of Styx. Good lord, this Lurker is killing them all. And the Air Force of Brian Weber is growing in strength, and that's mainly because, oh, the third base is sort of dead. But the Natural's up and running again. 4 workers doing damn all. These workers doing something of their own as well. But the army size of Brian Weber is now above 0, and although the Air Forces are not really up to scratch yet, the ground forces are going on the march, and as the enemy's only got Zerglings and not really fast Overlords. Oh god, look at this. The Lurker's going to go at it again. It must have 40 Zergling kills, if not 50 by now. Every time it lets go a series of spines, it will kill so many Zerglings. And now a Muta overhead is going to pose a little bit of a problem, but the Zergling death count is incredible. Now, Brian Weber is trying to fight the Muta with Scourge. Has still got the 2-base eco. Main is mining out though, and Styx is mainly mining out as well, so perhaps it will come down to the natural. And this one Muta is trying to kill so many Overlords. Finally, Brian Weber's got Overlord speed, that's always nice to have. And Styx totally forgoing any expansions may hurt it in the end, because although its army is slightly larger still and of a better value, Brian Weber at this point is fighting more efficiently and of course has got this natural, so more gas. And more importantly, more minerals, because gas is not really the deciding factor. Or perhaps it is for Styx because it can't build so many Mutas. And still Overlords dying, that's so atrocious. The Hydras run instead of fight, the Scourge run, and Brian Weber's got so much anti-air, but it's just not using it at the moment. That's really strange to see, and I think that Styx might still win this. It's got a respectable army, no natural expansion yet. Main is mining out fast though, only 5-6 patches left, and they were so low. Now Brian Weber on the counter-offensive with the Mutas, with the Zerglings and with the Scourge, and I think that now it's going to tilt the battle. No third yet. What there's going to be Queen's Nest, so might be going for a hive soon as well. Should just sit back behind all the spores. Main is out for Weber. Styx has got a couple of patches left, but not too much. But you can see that Brian Weber's got more than double the army, triple the army supply at this moment. And Styx just hasn't got money anymore, it hasn't got gas. And now it's only Sunkens, and of course there is the Air Force consisting of 1 Muta, Brian Weber, but the Air Force of Styx can't really get the grip of that because there are so many mutas. The Sunken dies and the last muta dies, all the workers are dead. Then Brian Weber just pulling it off by the skin of a camel toe's hair. No, that shouldn't have said that. I wouldn't say hoof, but some things are a little bit... Okay, well, let's go on to the next game. Also a recommendation. It's TSMU versus Banana Brain. And TSMU, of course, is working hard on the Facebook bot or learning about neural nets and all kinds of Gosu magic. And that should really make him the most dangerous coder alive at this moment, because he was already so good without any kind of a PhD in brute war AI Gosuness, but with all the stuff he's going to do for Facebook, it's going to be, well, I don't know what to think about it. Might just be slacking or drinking milkshakes all day, I don't know. But let's see the game first, because TSMU bots are so incredibly brilliant, it's always a pleasure to watch them. And Banana Brain's pretty good as well, going for a double Stargate and then a couple of pylons. No quick expansion, but going to make a handful of Zealots, because you can always use those. TSMU going for a handful of Vultures, a couple of Marines, and will we have Spider Mines? They will finish momentarily. So these Zealots can be put to good use. No Vulture speed, so the micro will not be as deadly, but still Vultures will out micro Zealots, and with the mines it's going to be quite bloody, I think. Now I really need some kind of a kill counter, that would have been very nice. Natural expansion being thrown out for Banana Brain, and TSMU's expansion already finishes. Will we have a worker transfer? Yes, a handful will come, and TSMU sitting back, just macroing like a boss with a nice little minefield. And Banana Brain's got the first goon out, so these Vultures will not be as deadly anymore as they had been. Goon range coming up, we've got the Forge and the Cannon just for to prevent some run-bys. Might be interesting to have a couple of cannons here to prevent the run-bys over there, but let's see what's going down. Now, the Zealots are very brave, but so are these Vultures, and the Vultures, even without... Oh, Vulture speed is coming up. Vultures are pretty good, and you can see now that TSMU has got the army advantage. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Will my recording device still record the right screen? Yes, it will. So you can see now that the Vultures are killing the Zealots and the Goons are killing the Vultures. And a third base for Banana Brain, that's pretty devious. TSMU going for a lot of turrets, and I don't know what that's about. Perhaps has scanned the Robo Bay, and this might be a Robo... Oh no, that's an observatory. And the Robo support will probably be built after that, because Banana Brain can do Reaver Shuttle. And there you go. That can be pretty deadly, and another gateway always nice to have. Now TSMU with 27 army supply and Banana Brain with 25. Both players pretty well balanced, and the SCVs repairing some units. TSMU out with a small expeditionary force and then gathering a, well, it's a decent striking force at home with the siege mode, and I think that the nearest unit is, well, 5 screens away, so that doesn't really make sense, but you never know. TSMU has its own way of making sense of things, and it is pretty Gosu while doing that. Banana Brain starting the 4th. We'll slow you down a little bit because I need to show you which bot is on top. We've got Crazio almost, well, almost, more than 100 points ahead of Iron, and then basically the rest. Purple, Wave, Locutus, the Protoss are really doing well. Then TSMU Terran, which you are watching now, TSMU Random, Ekberth really making a strong showing, Willybot, Cherry Pie, and then all kinds of other Gosus. And without voting, the ELO looks sort of like this. Crazio on top with almost 2500, then Ironbot, and then the rest. But Marion Devecker's Killerbot still going pretty strong, then Reaver, Purple Wave, and you can see that the Protoss are doing so well. We got 2 Terrans on top, and then a lot of Protoss and Zerg. Microwave doing really well as well, and the next Terrans are basically Silent Prince and Master Warrior's Leaderbot. Should be mentioning about Leaderbot that his new Master's Thesis bot with Monte Carlo Tree Search and Influence Map should be uploaded next Friday. Oh, and TSMU expressly losing some siege tanks because the supporting units are all fucking about and the goons are running away with it. And goon balls if you've been watching the recent broadcasts, Goon death balls are so powerful, and TSMU is throwing everything away. Just siege them, you can make so much blue super. I've seen at least 5 or 8 tanks die to this one Goon push, and you can see the damage to the Goons is completely negligible. TSMU going for a third, but not building a command center over there. And this is not how you fight with tanks, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that. The tank sieges but dies immediately. And just siege, please. Okay, there we go. And now perhaps these units all in front of here and protect the tank. No, oh god, okay. One tank siege over here, still a couple of mines. Good couple of mine hits. And now finally the supporting units are over there. The bunker is empty. So TSMU really slacking at this point. No third base yet, and Banana Brain starting its 5th. Oh, TSMU starting a 3rd in a little bit safer area. But the siege tank play of TSMU is not impressing me the least in this game. I don't know what the hell it's doing. 3 observers, 1 wounded Goon, and Banana Brain loses most of his army trying to kill the final choke. And TSMU being so forward with his 2 tanks is just unbelievable. 5th base for Banana is up. And what the bloody hell are you going to do with these tanks? It's totally beyond me. So TSMU puny army is spread out all over the map. Vulture here, Goliath there, tank somewhere in the corner. And at this point it's just completely falling apart because Banana Brain's got 6 bases, 5 bases mining, 6 base started, and has got all the production in the world. Got a huge bank. Could do with a couple of gateways more, and of course some more tech. It's got the Templar archives, but doesn't have a robo support, and is pressuring the main of Crazio by way of the National, and this bunker is so empty it's not even funny. The tank is in an okay position, but then you should leapfrog them a bit. Okay, here comes one, but it doesn't really add up. You've got to be a little bit more aggressive. Just move it over here. Perhaps on the high ground might work wonders as well. These 2 bases for TSMU each have a siege tank and are mining away happily. Banana Brain though is just grinding at the start. TSMU trying to do what it can with a handful of mines, but there is just too much stuff. But now with 5 tanks in the rear, these Goons can't really get anything done. And that's really the key to playing Terran versus Protoss. Just keep your tanks in line, protect them with supporting units, and then blast everything to hell with your 75 damage. Or let me have a look, we've got the +1, that's 80 damage already per blast, and with the splash, so that's pretty good damage. TSMU take another base, and Banana Brain just keeps insisting on going through the main entrance. This factory is not in a good position, and TSMU has gathered an army, and that's only because the army cannot really leave the base at this point. So that's pretty interesting. But TSMU is getting an army together, but it's not really as good as Crazio in these large engagements where it can just gather up a large army and move it out as one. And TSMU is doing a lot of damage, but this factory should not have been built there. That's so painful. And it probably is going to die. Oh, we are going to see a High Templar. Let's see if it can get anything done. Or if TSMU will blast it before it gets a storm off. So that's very unfortunate. And Banana Brain is really helping TSMU gather an army at this point, but it's got 60% of the map, and TSMU it's got the other 40, still 1 base, a mineral only not taken. And Banana Brain is macroing and upgrading like a boss, but versus this kind of tank carnage you can't really, and TSMU is blocking itself in. Oh dear. That's not good at all. Now trying to move. Oh, it's not entirely locked in. But TSMU's now got an army together. And let's see where it goes. And it's shocking to see how one of the best Terrans does not protect its tanks at all. Just moving them out one by one. The Vultures are over here mining stuff up. And, ooh, these 2 high temp. Yeah, that was pretty expensive. So TSMU doing well over here. Trying to protect these bases with Vultures. But now back to the wall. And killing this base, so that's going to be a little bit of an expansion trade. These Vultures don't really have the room to micro, although I think with the repair that these Zealots are going to fall. Yes, there we go, and still 1 Vulture lives. He is going to get repaired, but keeps bugging around the SCVs. So now again TSMU losing a couple of tanks for no good reason other than not protecting them at all. But more tanks in the rear do the blasting, and of course one base of Banana Brains has been shot to pieces. So all in all, I'm not entirely... oh dear, one Matrix Goliath and a couple of Vultures, but otherwise no protection at all, save this one tank. Tank lives, then the Vultures and the Goliath try to clean it up. The tank still lives, and that is such a good ploy by TSMU. Just leave one tank over there, and I can't see if it's badly damaged or not. But I think for the time being, TSMU, Banana Brain's now focusing all its attention on this base. The tank dies, and TSMU, what's it going to do? Is going to mull about with a couple of siege tanks. Might, yes, there we go. That's a nice flank on the reinforcements. Going to be so deadly. The Templar, and just before it gets into range, it gets blasted. But TSMU is going to lose this base if it doesn't get running very quickly. These Zealots have such a lot of DPS, and TSMU's army is just too slow and cumbersome at the moment, and still not protecting the tanks. Command center is torn down, TSMU immediately rebuilding it, but Banana Brain's got the army lead, and TSMU is just all about harass and not really good at these large-scale conflicts. Banana Brain is macroing like a boss. Only got gateways at the main though. That may be a flaw which in other games might be costing it games, because if you camp this area, which is with siege tanks, all these colonies are cut off completely. Only got mining operations going on, and these two science vessels, okay, science vessels thrown away for nothing, and TSMU is so absolutely sloppy with its units, losing another command center, not checking if it's going to be a safe area or not, and sprawling of units everywhere. There is no main army to be seen, to be found. And Banana Brain hasn't got a large army of its own, make no mistake, but it's playing Minesweeper with Goons and Templars. But it's got the macro, and TSMU is so very damn careless. It's shocking. It's really shocking to see how many units TSMU can throw away. And again, 4 tanks without any support, and then you can stop a lot of Protoss units, but then again you're going to lose a couple of tanks as well. And these tanks with a couple of supports should be pretty much invulnerable. So Banana Brain now throwing its weight at this base, only one tank, still without protection because the Vultures are off killing the assimilator, and TSMU going to lose another base. So the cards appear to be stacked in favor of Banana Brain, but Banana Brain's mining out as well, taking this base. I think that's good, and if it could shift TSMU out of one more base or take this one, perhaps it would be golden. TSMU not going to sit back and let things happen though, is going to mine this base and attack it with one Vulture. More units coming up, and Banana Brain's got a really large army and going after this science vessel, and the science vessel sitting over this base. And the reason for that is totally mysterious to me. And now Banana Brain is going to take this base again. TSMU, what can it do? There is such a large Goon army, and still the tanks are fighting without any kind of support. That's so sloppy. Banana Brain losing a fair amount of Goons, to mines, to tanks, to whatever, but TSMU's tank micro is so bad, it's not even mattering because hardly a Goon dies. Okay, now 3 tanks in a narrow choke, and TSMU taking another couple of bases, and that's really what it's all about. Ooh, Banana Brain barely saved this base. It's so hard to cast this game. Worker transfer going off towards this base, I think. And, oh god, Banana Brain being very ballsy, right in the influence zone of TSMU, and it's just not really happening this game because Protoss keeps throwing units away in this choke, and once you've got this number of tanks to contend with in a choke, with the bridge, with a couple of mines, now you can see how effective a Terran army can be. But if it's just going to roll out bits and pieces onto the map, it's not going to work, and that's a Nexus loss for no good reason at all. Lots of mines near the Nexus, I don't know why that is. TSMU might plant down a command center, that would be wise, but then again, it's not about wisdom, it's just about brute strength and who can lose the most units at this point. TSMU's army though is approaching 100, and Banana Brain, as a consequence, is having great troubles getting anything together. There is a huge cloud of Templars, but they are storming the command center and not the SCVs. and I don't know why they are doing that, but TCMU losing another base and killing one with money. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Banana Brain hasn't got any income anymore, and this is last army. TCMU is flanking it with a couple of siege tanks, and of course again no supporting units to be seen anywhere because all the vultures are over here. And Banana Brain breaking out, but it's losing units and it's only got 37, no income left whatsoever. TCMU took down this one, and that might be a nice trade. 35 supply with a couple of, what a fleet of High Templars. And the question is, what can Banana Brain do with the High Templars? Storm? No, not really. And they totally do not storm, so that's very unfortunate. And that means that TCMU is going to take the game because it's got all the income and is raising buildings left and right. Taking this this base over here, has still got this base here, and this base is available as well. So TCMU doing pretty well, rolling over Banana Brain. Banana Brain a little bit too careless with throwing away units, more careless than TCMU was. So next game up. And the last recommendation for today, it's Purple Swarm. It's the bot from Dan Gant versus Toothpick Cactus, and Toothpick Cactus of course is the Terran equivalent of Pineapple Cactus, and let's see what it's going to do. So TVZ, always nice to watch. We are going to see, wow, what's this then? This is a proxy hatch, and proxy hatch Hydra. The Hydras are fighting Marines up the ramp and then die to a bunker. A couple of Sunkens might be nice, but can't really see this working at this point. And a Pineapple, a Toothpick Cactus, I must say, is, well, going for it with a couple of Marines and a medic, but the medic is out of energy, and that's going to be very inefficient to repair, to heal anything with that. And it's now Marines versus Hydras. Why was this game recommended? It's so silly. And if you're going to do a proxy like this, just build a couple of Sunkens, and you've got to wait for the enemy to build a couple of siege tanks. Toothpick Cactus should be building more stuff, perhaps. I don't know, it's got 5 barracks. Oh, now they are building again. But it's got a huge amount of minerals, and a Purple Swarm is sort of getting away with this. Is it building anything else? No upgrades, just going Hydra, Hydra, Hydra. And Toothpick Cactus should easily have this, but this the barracks are all floating and it's got 2k minerals stacked. So this is quite silly and not going to work really. Oh, it's going to build another base over here, so perhaps it might restart there. And look at how many workers there are, and there are no Marines. And oh, finally the Marines with the workers, the SCVs with the Marines chase back all the Hydras from the main. And perhaps now, please build something. Toothpick Cactus is just so silly, and oh, the SCVs are doing the damage at this point. But the Marines coming down the ramp, killing the expansion, and now Toothpick Cactus has got things well in control. With 2 expansions, a nice fleet of Marines, handful of workers, and going for the first factory as well. Purple Swarm trying to restart the game with a natural expansion. What kind of tech is it going to build? A couple of workers coming off the line, but surely this is not going to work because Toothpick Cactus has got triple the amount of workers, so much army. It's 3 versus 34, and these Hydras had better morph into lurkers real soon, or this is going to be a huge bloodbath. And here comes the bloodbath. So, 4th base to be taken by a Toothpick Cactus, depots in the middle of the map, armory over here. Stint Bio, it was a bit of a close hold, but still lots of money in the bank, and this amount of Stint Bio is going to take down your bases pretty quickly. So, next game up, it's Madmix Zerg versus Egbert. And I always like to see what Egbert is doing, because Egbert is growing into quite a force of its own, and it's climbing the ladder slowly but surely, and like another bot which is receiving regular updates, perhaps like Lucas Moravec. Lucas is plateauing a little bit, and Egbert is okay. It's playing very conservative, but it can also quite pack a punch you can see with this bio build it's doing okay, and Mad Mix is going for a couple of hatches, lots of Zerglings over here, and then a Hydra Den. And Egbert is not doing anything too aggressive. Might take a natural command center at this point, but a bio build versus Zerg is pretty good. And Mad Mix is going for so many Zerglings. What's the plan going to be? I don't know. Worker count for both players is okay. And now going for a command center, protecting it with a quite acceptable army. Just 32 supply in Marines Medics with Stim, with range, +1, armor starting. And once you've got an army like that, it's very hard for Zerg to stop that. Needs lurkers, needs any kind of well, glorious macro would stop it too, but basically you can see how many Zerglings died over here, and the army for Egbert is hardly touched, and Egbert retiring to the bunker over here might build 1 or 2 bunkers there just to make sure, but this kind of bio force is not going to be halted by any kind of Zergling and Hydra thing. Third base taken for Mad Mix, so Mad Mix doing okay, worker count is acceptable, going for a lair, and as long as Egbert doesn't move out, Mad Mix is in a good position. That said though, the natural for Egbert is up, and Mad Mix is just throwing unit upon unit on the shores of this block of Marines and Medics, and Marines and Medics are going to get better and better upgraded, and I think with the +1/+1 finishing, Egbert is going to move out, and Mad Mix, what can it do? It hasn't, well, will it? What can it do? It has got a couple of upgrades, but hasn't really got any kind of tech. And at that point, you're going to need a glorious amount of units, and at the moment the army supply is about 6 versus the 50 of Egbert. And Egbert just sitting back, making Marines, making Medics, and going for a starport. Will want to build the 2-2 and the 3-3. Workers being evacuated, always a good idea, but at this point you are going to need a lot of Sunkens and a couple of Lurkers, and those are not there at the moment. So Egbert, with a very solid play, not being overly risky and just making a lot of units, is going to seal the deal over here. This base might just hold on for a little bit longer, but I think being in the position where it is really hard to take another base, and by now Egbert has got 70 bio. Oh wow, it's got, let's see, we've got 60 Marines and 15 Medics, and that was the main base and the last Overlord. Oh, the Overlord lives. Still got an extractor, got one base over here, nice concatenation of hatcheries. This drone is trying to rebuild, but it's pretty dangerous over here, Mr. Drone. Or Mrs. Drone, I don't know. And Egbert just building Marines, doing its thing. And now, oh, it's only building 1 depot at a time, but you can see once the depot finishes, everything will start flashing, and it's sort of supply blocked again, and immediately building another depot. But at this point you should just consider building more depots, because you're basically supply stuck the whole time. And the main army is over here, and there is a scout going, there is another scout going, but this base is still not found at all. Mad Mix hasn't got the gas, but is rebuilding the spawning pool, and the drones, they are trying to retake this base over here, but it's just not going to happen. And Egbert is going to be supply stuck a huge amount of the time. Hasn't really got the room to build another depot anymore, but now it has found the enemy, and will the main army join in the fun as well, or just remain stuck? It's going to be maxed-ish. Yeah, a couple of Sunkens, not going to work. Going to go into the next game, which is Gibot versus Alien. And Gibot received a couple of upgrades as well. I remember seeing a game yesterday evening, but I wasn't too sure how it went. But I thought, well, Gibot is trying to get things started, and well, the game plan is okay. Forge first. Not really a Forge. Oh, now it's a Forge fast expand, and then we'll have a gateway over here. So the SimCity is pretty decent. We need a couple of links to break that, and with 1 zealot, yep, there we go. Good luck, have fun beating that with a handful of Zerglings only. So Alien going for, no, not a third base. There is still not a single bot which can take these island expansions with a mineral thing in the middle, or island expansions at all. So Alien just going to build a nice fat round of workers, while G-Bot is going to climb the tech tree of 6 army supply. Only 3 zealots, but it's got these 2 sunkens, and we'll have the +1 weapons as well, so should be okay. Now the drone coming to have a peek. We'll find everything, and scout denial is not really a thing which Alien is good at. So let's see how it's going to go. Nice Zergling contain, and I like G-Bot just not forgoing to build any kind of units at all. That would be disastrous. Meanwhile, going for a Corsair, going for a lot of tech, going for, I think that's going to be, that's +1 air weapons. Okay, so this might be a little bit more interesting build order than I thought I would see. Alien going for a handful of Zerglings, and these Zerglings will not be worth as much anymore. Should take a 3rd base, because as a Zerg, if you got the enemy contained, just go for it. And the danger for G-Bot is where Alien would now make a large round of Hydras, but Alien is doing a little bit of everything, of 2 bases, building a little bit of workers, a couple of Zerglings, a couple of Hydras, not really working, just got the contain going. But if you've got the contain going, take another couple of bases just for laughs and kicks and I don't know what, for great justice. Now, no, this is not going to work, just throwing away a handful of units. And now we've got a Reaver, and the Reaver with the shuttle. Ooh, that micro is pretty on point. Look at the APM spam going off there. Ooh, killing the Zerglings and taking on the Hydras head on. The Hydras are running like hell. They don't want to have anything to do with that Reaver. But between the Reaver and the Corsairs, it's going to be increasingly difficult for Zerg to get any kind of foothold. But the shuttle nearly gets shot, and the shuttle should be really careful. It doesn't really have any kind of a clue how badly damaged it is, and Alien still refusing to take a 3rd base. That's not good. And G-Bot just going out with Corsairs, with the Shuttle Reaver, and now also leaving the base with the Zealots it's got. And I think that with the Zealots and the Reaver it can do quite well, but then the Reaver should be more inclined to fight, and these 3 Zealots should be out there as well, because the front Zealots are going to be sort of absorbed by the Zerg. Okay, that's much better. A couple of hard-hitting Scarabs every now and then, and still no 3rd base for G-Bot. And that's really about that's what you see the more modern bots do. Start with the SimCity, and if you are pressured, sit back and tech and make units. If you've got any kind of breathing room, just take another base, and that's something what Alien is totally not doing, being a little bit older and shutting down this base over here. That's well done. And now the shuttle with the Reaver is... where is it? Is it here? Is it there? No, those are... perhaps it died. I don't know. But the Overlords are a little bit suicidal. These Corsairs have got the +1 weapons upgrade already, and now it's going to be a dance of death in the middle of the map, and these Overlords are really wanting... not wanting to be left out of this. We've got a High Templar coming up, and G-Bot really is keeping his army together, but completely forsaking the defense of the 3rd. A 3rd will be torn down record speed, and that Storm tears everything apart, and what doesn't die in the first Storm, the Zealous kill. But still, the 3rd is lost, and although Alien hasn't got a 3rd of its... oh god, it's losing more Overlords now. The Corsair army is of sufficient strength that it can just withstand a lot, and Alien now is supply blocked as well. 3rd base not really there yet for G-Bot. Should be restarting. Alien's got so much money, it's out of this world. It's not mining gas over here, over there, so I think it's sort of crashed. And now it's a 2-base Zergling only operation versus a Protoss which has got Storm, so that doesn't really work. And on top of that, the Corsairs are completely raping the Overlords, and it's just not good for Zerg, should be said. So G-Bot going to 1A, 2A, 3A into victory, and Zerg refusing to mine gas. That's not good at all. Silmi will be disappointed by this. And no 3rd base yet for Protoss, because all the money gets spent on units. And there are a lot of units. The army supply is now 120 versus 10. And it doesn't really matter what, you could just move with probes at this point. But where is the army? The army is over here, because there is one Zergling there. And now the main army of Zerg is going to... Oh, please hurry up. It's 125 versus 10. And the storms are going off everywhere. Look at how many Templar there are. Oh! Storms! And finally Alien resumes working on gas. But that's mainly because the minerals in the main were out, I think. And storms all over the place. And there are pretty... Oh no, well, most of them are empty. But there are so many storms. It's 100 versus 2 army supply at this point. And the Reaver Shuttle Micro might be a little bit better, but at this point it doesn't really matter. No third base, should be a little bit more robust on that. And Gibot is doing things in style to Alien, and that's not a bad opponent, so for a relatively new Protoss, that's pretty good. And with the Reavers and the High Templar, the Zealots are a little bit hesitant. They've had a bit of a nasty experience with these both of these Sunkens. So perhaps Gibot might just founder over here and throw away a lot of units, but it's now going in for the kill, and Alien taps out. Next game up, it's Tyr Protoss versus Whopper. And I don't really know why I took this game, but let's see if it's going to go into a nice direction. And I should really be a little bit... well, not make these long broadcasts. It's just not how it's... It just takes up a lot of time for me and for the audience as well. I prefer to have them short and powerful and with a theme, but oftentimes it's not really about a theme, and I'm struggling to find a theme for a broadcast. And I think, well, let's call this one Waiting for CIG, but then again, I don't really know when CIG is going to be this year. And... it's just going to be about the good game. So Whopper going for the standard mech play, and Tyr Protoss is going for the standard gateway macro stuff, going for 3 bases and has got 55 army supply. It's such a macro monster, it's such a nice well-timed build. Could go over +1, and the range and +1 armor are done. The leg speed is done as well. And Whopper is, well, really one of the most defensive Terrans. It's a little bit slower than Ice because it's more defensive than Ice, and Crazy, of course, is much more aggressive. And here comes the Protoss wave, but all the tanks are in position, one at the rear, and these bridges are just too... Oh, they are too narrow, and these tanks make a glorious amount of loot soup. The Wraiths are coming to help, but they should not really do that because they... they're going to take down the Templars. That's a good idea. And Whopper at this point should just let the Protoss walk into the tanks because they are going to be absolutely deadly. And then behind that build more units. So yeah, that's sort of the plan. The Wraiths are taking down a really large number of High Templar. And at the bridges, you need pretty big balls and a lot of units to break down a fortified Terran by means of these bridges. But then again, Simon Prince's Tyr is going for a huge amount of buildings and is just going to press M for macro. Whopper meanwhile has got a battlecruiser and a lot of tanks with supporting units, and if it keeps the units together, it might well be victorious because all the units of Tyr are coming in one at a time, and now finally it has resorted to stacking up a number of units, and you can see all the buildings which are here. And now the battlecruiser wants to come and help with the deconstruction of this base, but it's not really succeeding. And a third base for Whopper. And Whopper going for the bridges of the enemy, and once it gets a position on those, it will be over because these tanks are going to be so deadly. But Tyr has got a lot of units, and the Zealots reach the siege tanks, but now all the Zealots are dead, and it's Goons versus High Templar. The battlecruiser overhead should be protecting the tanks, and the tanks should be doing the blasting. But now you can see that this army, which has been saved up over here, is dead. And now Tyr is scrambling to get another fighting group together. The Arbiter gets Yamato'd. Oh, that's pretty pro. And now there are tanks on the bridges of Tyr, and Tyr is not liking that because the colonies haven't got any production. And that's going to be costly because all the production is here. And the tanks are over here with 2 battle cruisers for support, should be sitting back a little bit, perhaps get repaired. Tyr's macro is actually going to make this work, perhaps if the Zealots would not be... Oh god, the Zealots don't want to attack and then they all get killed. And Whopper is going to hold, and the reinforcements for Whopper aren't there either, so it's still anyone's game. But I think that Whopper has got the right position, and this Arbiter is so suicidal, and Tyr Protoss has got a nice timing, but it's so very clumsy with army macro, it's just micro, it's just not good enough. And now Whopper is just feeding units in one at a time. Should look at the enemy expansion though, because that's where the real problem is at this point. And a couple of vultures, 2 vultures here, there, 8 vultures, and the enemy is mined out because the natural's pretty low and it's pretty much under attack by a lot of tanks, a battle cruiser, and a handful of vultures, which are pretty suicidal at times as well. So not really the most high level play, but it's pretty much a brawl with just 2 heavyweights going at it, throwing punches, taking punches, but Whopper's got a nice tank container. It's not repairing at all. You see more modern Terrans do that a lot. Just repair the stuff in the front line, bring 2 SCVs. It will extend your army's life and will help with your firepower as well. These battle cruisers especially are so expensive and you just cannot fight goons with them. That's not how it's done. It's way too expensive and you just should be killing goons with tanks like this. So the natural is going to be under attack. His probe is so very lucky. It moves through the enemy lines unscathed. And now Whopper is going to roll up the enemy main with the tanks, with the battle cruiser. And there you go. So there goes all the production. And Tyr's army micro is just not up to scratch, not up to splitting the T. And these Terrans are so imbalanced with their tanks and their units. So you could see TSU earlier with its huge macro abilities, but its micro was such that it wouldn't keep the supporting units in front of the tanks. Whopper does that a lot better, I must say, and is blasting straight to hell this honorable Protoss called Tyr. So next game up, and I thought, well, let's have some PvZ in there. It's Cherry Pie, but here is Locutus, and Locutus is really making a name for itself. It's so deadly with the micro and the macro, and as is common in PvX, it starts with a SimCity. And that will mean that the scouting SCV or the scouting drone or the enemy scouting probe does not get in, and that is a considerable advantage because the enemy will not immediately read what you are doing and is going for something you may want to counter in a specific way. So that said, Cherry Pie going for 3 bases, going to turn on the macro immediately, and worker-wise is at 30 already, and Locutus is going for a handful of zealots, then with a little bit of tech, and see where it's going to end. Now Cherry Pie is going to make some army and is going to fight in the middle of the map these zealots with Zerglings. The Zerglings are retreating, and that is one of the specialities of Cherry Pie, that it rarely loses a unit, and if it does so, it's only one, and it won't just feed units into the enemy lines one at a time, lose them needlessly. And Locutus is a little bit out-microed at this point, because it can't really get a concave together in the middle of the map, and there are so many Zerglings. The Zerglings going to town on the walls, and the Zealots are too cowardly to help them fight. That perhaps is going to cost it the game, because Cherry Pie has got the 4th base started. Here is going to be the 5th base already, and from here on it will be just an endless stream of Zerglings. The wall is holding. The wall's still holding with 2 cannons, 1 gateway, 1 forge, and a number of zealots, but with Hydras coming up to the front, these zealots will have an even greater disadvantage. They've got the +1 though, so these Zerglings will not be as strong, and perhaps this could be a time for Locutus to take out an enemy base. It has got 2 cannons over here. I say that's money wasted, but it should do something. It should get some damage done before Cherry Pie can really get into macro mode. and if it isn't already, because it's got 41 workers, it's got 4 bases operational. This base is not mining, but now the zealots are in there, and with their +1 they are doing a huge amount of damage to the zerglings. There are 2 mutas overhead, the one Hydra gets cornered and killed as well, and oh, more mutas are coming in, and Locutus is losing steam, does not really want to commit to that, and abandons it. And that was a sick, sweet defensive timing by Cherry Pie. Could not really have afforded to lose a base like that. Locutus going for another base, trying to keep up with the macro, but now it's only 2 cannons, and we've got 6 mutas already. They're trying to scout out the enemy base, trying to see where they can do a little bit of damage, and they're just completely going to ignore the cannons. Oh no, that's not how it's done at all. And although you can kill a lot of workers this way, it is way too expensive to throw a mutas like that. But then again, if you've got the map and this base is done already, this base, oh well, the worker count is not really keeping pace at the moment. And Cherry Pie, although it's got a respectable army, these are +1 zealots, and of course with links there is only so much you can do with that, but that's a huge amount of links, and of course with a couple of mutas overhead, the efficiency of these zealots is diminishing rapidly. 3rd base will finish for Locutus though, and if Locutus can get any kind of an army together, perhaps get a starport up with a couple of Corsairs, that may work wonders as well. Problem is though that Cherry Pie's got the army advantage at this point, with the mutas, and the zealots is chasing the army back home. The wall is at half health, and it's going to be very hard to hold this at this point. There are so many zerglings. Note how the upgrades are coming in, and it's the +1 which is keeping Locutus in the game, but it can't really contend with these mutas. And 1 cannon is going to fall, the gateway is falling as well, the other cannon is going to go down. These 2 zealots are doing huge amounts of damage, but there are just too many zerglings at this point, and the worker count for Cherry Pie is climbing steadily but surely. And then you've got to contend with all these hatcheries, and Cherry Pie from here on out is just going to kill everything with pure zergling. And the goons, oh, the goons can hold. They took down the muta, and they can take down quite a number of zerglings, but the damage is being done. The damage is being done. The worker count is almost triple for Cherry Pie at this point, and although the goons do save the natural for now, the 3rd is in a very bad way, and 2 goons are coming in to save that, but Cherry Pie is already there with a fat round of workers, and now is going to build units. And upgrade wise, it's not really the best. There is no... oh, there is going to be a lair, that's good. Then it can get +2/+2, and now the zerglings are coming in from all angles, and the goons can try and hold what they can, but the 3rd is down, the natural is down, this 1 goon gets cornered, and the main of course is nearly out. But even if it wasn't out, you need Storm or Dark Templars or any kind of high-tech units like that. Cherry Pie is going to explode. If you look at the production tab, it looks like this, and this is all minerals. It's doing everything with minerals. It's got a huge bank of gas, and that's links, the occasional drone overlord tech building. That's the hive, I think. What's building another one? Somewhere. I don't know. Oh, it's building another lair or a hive or whatever, but it's right now the army composition looks like lings with overlords. And that's going to be the GG. Cherry Pie, looking forward to see that updated for CIG as well, but you never know what these guys are up to, so let's not speculate too much on that. And let's see what a little bit of a stronger opponent is going to do, because, well, Locutus is a very respectable Protoss, but the number 2 bot is still Iron and has been forever, and with a nice SimCity of its own, is going to be more of a challenge than is, I think, Locutus. But let's see and find out. Now, natural up with 1 sunken. Of course, Iron can do a run-by, and will do a run-by, but there are some links in the rear as well, which may be beneficial to... Oh, and here comes the repair, and that is one of the hallmarks of Great Terran, that it can... Oh, there goes the run-by, but the links cut it short. And although the links are going to pay a little bit of a price, there are no vultures are still outside and not in the main, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. No natural yet for Iron, no 3rd for Cherry as well. So at the moment these players are really rather balanced, and Iron would like to have some mines, because then it can contend with the Hydras. Boom, yep, there you go. And now they will try, these vultures will try for another run by, and the contain will start growing in strength, and there goes the natural for Ironbot. And if it can get a 2 versus 2 base situation, it will be golden. This contain will not be broken anytime soon. These vultures will just mine everything up. And the production tab for iron looks like this. Lots of technology, very few army, and occasionally a vulture and a turret. So the problem for iron at this moment is the hydras. If it can contain the hydras with mines, the links will not be a problem. And the vultures just should not. Okay, one dies, and that's really the difficulty. If it got some, if it would have some Goliaths, you can see how easily these hydras are cutting through. The vultures need to be fighting in line with the mines, and although the repair is on point, Iron would really like to have some more powerful units to help stop the hydras, because the vultures alone cannot do it. The natural is up though, and at this point Cherry Pie, here comes the worker transfer, has got not enough workers, hasn't got a third base, and Cherry Pie is a bot which relies on the ability to macro. And you saw earlier that it was contained, and now it's sending out a drone, but the drone's still trying to find a nice spot to land. Most of the bases have been mined up by now, so let's... Oh yeah, well that's the way you can try and do something about that. But this base you cannot take, and Iron has got 2 bases up now, has got the army production, and now it will build combat units to help and stem the tide of the Zerg. The Zerg needs a third base. It really does, and it cannot, because most of the bases have mined up. And Iron is a little bit sloppy not mining every base, and that may be costly, because now the drone, where is the drone? The drone's over here, and now they will both die, but this base will now be available. Iron coming back though for the contain. A couple of Marines trying to contest with the Mutas, and Cherry Pie is a little bit starved. It's got a lot of minerals, but Zerglings at this point are only going to do so much, and Iron is preparing to take a third base with the turrets already up, and is just going to be very meticulous at inspecting every base to see what it's going to do. These vultures do really take their toll on the Zergling numbers, and now Iron is going to be a little bit more fortified. It's not harassy as it once was, but with the Valkyries and the vultures it really has a stone over the enemy scissors, and it will be fighting very cost efficiently. Third base should be starting momentarily. This mine needs to be killed first, and Iron is building a lot of infrastructure, and you can see Cherry Pie trying to build a large army. It now has taken a third, and for a Zerg that is very late, and Iron has got an equal army if the combat value isn't very much higher. The supporting units are not there though, and although the mines do quite some work, Zerg is rampaging across the map and keeping up. So if Zerg can get this third base up and get a large army together, because Cherry Pie is so very good at fighting, it's really unfair at times. It can decide when to attack, when to retreat, and these Valkyries really need some supporting units, as do the tanks. And if Iron gets in that harassy style where it just will spend units one at a time, just move them out all across the map, fourth base being started for Cherry Pie, and Iron, I feel, has invested too heavily on turrets and has not recognized the fact that Cherry Pie is going to run away with this game economically if it isn't very careful, and if it is not going to do something about that very, very soon. But the third base is up for Iron, which should allow it to build more combat units as well, and you can see that the army is growing in strength. We've got 3 factories, 1 starport, 1 barracks, and that's about it. So Iron is really building a lot of infrastructure still. Oh, sorry, should not pause that. And Cherry Pie is just building everything at once, and Iron is building so much infrastructure and foregoing the construction of a decent army. And now it is, at this point, itself somewhat contained, and that will help group its army. Now this ball of death is going to be painful. We've got 1 tank, we've got 1 mine, but the supporting units aren't all there, and the air force of Cherry Pie is suffering a little bit. by the Wraiths and by the Valkyries. And of course there is no Overlord to be seen, so that's a bit of a misser for Cherry Pie. But Cherry Pie is macroing like a boss. It's got 70 workers, it's taking bases, it has got some ability to clear the mines from expansions which have been mined. And although Iron has got this really high value army, it's building so much crap. It's got science vessels, a handful of vultures, still building SUVs, and at this point it should just build units and get some tanks and Goliaths on the high ground, protect this area, just keep his army together, move out, roll into this base and be done with it. Cherry Pie by now has got to Hive, it's got all kinds of evos, and if you've got this many eggs in your main, something is going well for you. And you can see with 71 workers, Cherry Pie's got the eco. Its army supply is growing a little bit faster than Iron's, but Iron is just building so much dummy units like Wraiths and Valves. It should be concentrating on Goliaths and tanks, and it's only got the occasional tank, and the tanks aren't sieged. Now the Mutas are trying to fight over the turrets. I don't think that's the wisest decision. With the Cloaked Wraith here and there, and the Valkyrie too. The Wraiths are... oh, the turret in the air is going to be triumphant. The ground battle, though, is a completely different story. Iron has not got any army left whatsoever. And Cherry Pie, with its 70 workers and its hive tech, is just going to roll in. And the production tab for Iron is still pretty mixed. It's factories, it's tech buildings, and it can't really make up its mind. It's great for harassing and containing, but once you lose the grip, the enemy will start doing this. The mini-map will look like that, and you are in for a huge problem. And oh god, all the overlords are getting killed by the air forces. That doesn't really matter because the ground forces are so dominant, are rolling up the natural and now making their way into the main. And of course it takes a lot of Zerg blood to make the way up the ramp like that, especially with a well-positioned siege tank. But in the end, it's just going to be bloody and deadly. And although the third base, it's a beautiful third base, lots of turrets and a production facility as well, but there is no defense, and Iron is just too much of a mixed bag once it lost grip of the contain. And Cherry Pie is taking another base right in view of Ironbot, and the production tab for Cherry Pie is ling 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 ling. Occasional muter. Army supply, army composition looks like 50 lings, 8 Hydras, couple of Mutas, and just grind up against the anvil, which is Ironbot. By this point, it's just over. The air forces are doing some good still, but you can see that the armies of Ironbot and Cherry Pie are now completely mismatched, and although a couple of vultures are coming to gun from this base, by now there are so many Zerglings. This vulture alone, it could do this all day and all night, and it still would not be able to stem the tide of the Zerglings. All the buildings are under attack. Muta count is increasing as well. There are some turrets at the third base, but once Cherry Pie gets to this point, there is only one thing to do, and that's type the GG. Look at all the hatches. There are so many hatches everywhere. Ultra Cavern and production tab still showing a couple of ultras, but we've got more than 100 Zerglings, and that's so beautiful. So let's hope for a Cherry Pie upgrade, and let's see what it's going to do. So the penultimate game for today will be Sparks versus Microwave. Microwave received an update, and let's see how it's going to play. It is going for the quick expand and then the spawning pool. Sparks going for the SimCity, and all bots are now starting with the SimCity. There are a lot of Zergs which are not placing any sunkens. That's good, but if you are going for a contain like this, the need for a sunken really becomes a lot less urgent, and you can put down a couple of creep colonies which you will then morph into a sunken, and I don't know why they would be going for the depot. That's just going to be very bloody, but there are so many Zerglings right now. So many Zerglings, but it's not really working, and especially not if you're going to attack into a full bunker with a siege tank. And once the vulture is out, vultures are out, it's going to be pretty costly to help and kill that with Zergling only. And then you'll see the Sunken. So that's pretty adaptive play by Microwave. 2 Sunkens in case of a run by. And the Vultures, oh, 1 gets in. That was pretty sloppy, but there is another Sunken over here, so that's okay. It's now a 2 versus 2 base situation, and if the situation doesn't get any worse, a couple of spider mines now, the turn has fallen to Sparks to do the containing. But versus 3 Sunkens, I don't think you are going to make very much happen with only Vultures. Siege tanks staying at home, and 3rd base taken for Microwave. I like that. It was a bit slow on the macro earlier, but now being a little bit more aggressive, and an in-base hatchery. That's always good to see. Lair is up. Hydra speed coming up, siege mode, spider mine, and this is going to be perhaps a spire, small peak. Yep, it is. And now we are going to see a mixed bag of Hydra and Zergling. And then in the early stages you've got Zerglings over nothing, and then Vultures over Zerglings, and then Hydras over Vultures. And the waiting is for the tanks, but this tank is blocking the ramp, and that's very unfortunate. The meat grinding choke here is very deadly. The problem is that no other units can get out on the map, and that's going to leave the Zerg with a lot of time to manage its affairs in peace. 3rd base for Sparks, always nice to see, but versus this kind of siege tank position, although more than half of the army is still stuck, and now it's about 80% of the army, and now Sparks is moving out. Oh dear, the SCVs are leading the charge. That's not wise. A Matrix Marine trying to get things done, but that's not the best. 3 bases up for Microwave, going for a couple of Sunkens over here as well, and fighting the rear guard. Oh, the Muta is absolutely beautiful because there is no anti-air except for repair, and if the repair is not, then the anti-air falls to nothing. So that's a wise decision, I think, for 1 Muta at least. And there is another Muta because there is 1 Vulture in the main base, which snuck through. You need to have a lot of Mutas for that, Vultures. And now Microwave is doing the magic with the Mutas, mainly because the Goliaths are so very late, and that means that a lot of units will be lost. The Muta count has grown, and the Zerglings are entering the battle as well. The Goliaths are still very reluctant to get into the fight, which will lead to the demise of probably all the siege tanks and the SCVs and the entire expeditionary force. And if Sparks isn't very careful, of the science vessels as well. So now the oh god, now the Goliath count has been established. They should be microed a little bit better. They are not all that keen on firing too many missiles, perhaps too expensive, and Microwave is now macroing like a boss. The worker count is okay, could be a little bit higher. Going for a hive, that's also good. Protecting this base without defense yet, but there aren't any workers at all, so that doesn't really matter at this point. And Microwave not losing too many units, that's very important as well, because if you are losing units, you're just going to bleed to death, and if the Terran's got any kind of decent macro, which Sparks has, it is going to be very hard as a Zerg to help him fight that. Now it's always a pleasure to watch Sparks, because Sparks is such a competent Terran, but well, no, I'm not going to say it. So Zerg now losing the occasional unit to the tank fire and perhaps the Goliath missiles. The problem for Terran lies though in that the Zerg bases are operational, and Zerg is clipping science vessels, is clipping tanks, and the Goliath micro is a little bit off because all the Goliaths are here, the enemy air force is here, and the Terran expeditionary force was over here, and this is just wasteful to the extreme. Now you can see how much damage over which range these Goliaths can do, but the Muta cloud is really coming into strength. Small peek to see how large it is. We've got 16 Mutas, so they can at this point one-shot a tank, and only due to imperfect micro will it take 2 shots. Still, the Goliaths are too far in the rear. Microwave taking another base, worker count up to 70. Ultras are there already, and no kind of creepy tech, no defilers, but all the upgrades here: adrenal glands, air armor, +3 ground armor, +3 ground attack. And Terran of course is upgrading as well, but Zerg at this point is growing into such a force We've got such a large mutable, and a couple of irradiates would be nice, but there is no irradiate in the Terran arsenal, and that would be nice for Sparks to have. And who would have guessed that Muta Ultra with a couple of Zerglings would be a valid build order, but apparently it's working-ish. Now the main full Terran is sort of out, the natural's getting low, third still a lot of juice in it, and Zerg main is still a little bit fuller because the saturation was lower, and now the Mutas are going in, and I'm not at all happy with this Goliath count and the Goliath micro. Still they are in the rear, and the main army of the Zerg consists of 21 Mutas. It's doing so much damage, and instead of matrixing, you might just place 1 or 2 good irradiates, and this would not be a problem anymore. But it's still a problem, and that's going to remain a problem, I fear, because if a Terran doesn't find money now for irradiate, it won't probably be in its build order or in its programming to get irradiate, and that is that, as they say, 4th base for Terran. That's nice because the main really is out at this point for Zerg getting low. What's this going to be? Another hatch. Would really like to see defilers as well, because although there are Zergs who use defilers, you also need a specific level of micro and macro decision making to be able to use them well. And I think that microwave is one of these bots which, although not being the strongest, the battle is on for this expansion now, is one of these bots which really could be capable of using defilers well. The Sunken lives just by a... Oh, I'm not going to say it again. Just barely lives. And this Matrix, this Matrix Vulture is trying to do what it can, but the Zerg Air Force is almost 30 Mutas. They can do so much damage. And, well, Terran has got this base well protected, but it's just not competing with the anti-air well enough. And with our Radiate and a little bit better Goliath micro, it might do wonders. Like here, the Goliaths are barely firing, they're just mulling about, doing nothing, and Zerg is rolling. It's got the larger army, and once Zerg's got the larger army by almost double, it's going to be so very deadly. And you can see the Goliaths taking their toll, they're trying to retreat, but really with a couple of well-placed irradiates, this would not be a problem at all. But right now, all the Goliaths, save 3 are dead, and 3 there are. Oh, and now the bunker, but at this moment, this Muta Cloud is too strong. They've got quite decent upgrades as well. And behind that, Zerg is sitting back happily with a huge bank. And not building too many units at the same time. Going for upgrades, Ultra Armor, plus 3 attack. And how many larvae have we got? We've got 13 larvae, so there could be a lot more Zerg units right now. But I think that the fight is lost for Terran. And Sparks fought valiantly, but without our Radiate and decent Goliath micro versus Mutas, you're not going to do well at all. The minefield is getting swept by Ultras and Mutas, so there you go. This base is... will it try to restart? That would be nice to see if Sparks can actually restart and say, okay, well, this area over here is gone, this one over there is gone. Let's try and start something here, and don't send out an SCV or 2 or 3 to help them repair. At this point, this base is a goner. This base over here is gone as well. Take a natural expansion, but you really need some kind of forces and minerals. And now the host of hosts is there. And let's hop into the next game. Congratulations to Microwave, looking really good there. It is a... and I just like to show you good TVT, because Crazio at this point is the #1 and has been the #1 forever. Ironbot has taken the crown for a couple of weeks or months. No Protoss, no Zergs ever come close in taking Crazio down, or from its #1 spot. Can win a game occasionally with a well-placed cheese or with good Reaver harass, but no consistent force opposes Crazio in this at this moment. So that's something to be very, very proud of as the coder, I would say, and I'm going to enjoy watching the next big tournament with Crazio in it, and I hope that its one-time Protoss adversary Magrave will be there as well, because Magrave was really bringing the fight to Crazio, and I fear that Crazio is going to be a little bit unprepared for what Magrave is going to bring, and that is always good. Crazio with a nice defensive setup with the bunker, 3 tanks, and TSMU a little bit slower with the expand, but a little bit more aggressive with the contain, and Crazio playing it very safe, nice amount of tanks, 14 units, and then TSMU took the natural as well. Army supply wise, TSMU more than double, but the army value is pretty much lower because it's all vultures, most of which have spent their mines, a couple of Goliaths, and now the game is on. So this floating eBay is going for whatever. Crazio trying to take base over here, protect it with, or at least scout out with a couple of units, and just build units upon units upon units. And Crazio really isn't making all that many vultures. If you look at the army composition, TSMU's got 12, 5 Goliaths, 1 tank, Crazio 8 tanks, 2 Goliaths, 2 vultures, 2 marines, and of course TSMU's got a huge number of spider mines, but Crazio is going to rock up. Oh dear, oh dear, look at this defense, that's pretty good. Just a number of tanks for support. Could do with a number of vultures and Goliaths for anti-air and just suffering, taking up the damage of enemy tanks or contesting with vultures and mines. But it's now 3 vs 2 base, the eBay is dead, and TSMU is still in a good position with the contain. Crazio not really sure what it's going to do, and TSMU could take a sortie down the south to populate this base. Now with the tanks, and you can see without supporting units a tank is quickly overrun, and Crazio has got a nice defensive position, but this base is totally exposed, and TSMU running in there with a handful of vultures, completely devastating all the SCVs over there, and with the wraiths for good measure. And once Crazio's army arrives, it's too late, so Crazio should have a mobile striking force and some static defense here as well. Just 1 tank, 2 vultures, a Goliath, couple of turrets, and this should be a lot less of a loss. And now it's TSMU which is bringing on the pain, and Crazio is gaining in army, but it is also completely losing control of the map. TSMU taking a 4th base while devastating Crazio's 3rd, and that is one of the things that Crazio really fears. It's TSMU's Terran. TSMU's Terran is so very deadly. It can harass, it can defend, it can do a decent push and contest Crazio at this base. It's just 10 supply worth of units, 8 supply worth of units, and contest Crazio in this very important position. Crazio trying to retake a 3rd over here, but TSMU is mining from 4-5 bases already, and the macro boat will be gaining steam, and you can see it already. TSMU a little bit ahead. That's a lot of vultures, but TSMU is basically buying map control. And Crazio's main is mining out, the natural is getting low already, and the 3rd here cannot be taken. The mineral only could be taken, but TSMU's over there as well. Look at this huge concave. It's basically every area which is possible is contained by either mines or tanks. Crazio has got a good army, no mistake about that. The value of it is very, very high with science vessels and tanks. Might have a couple of Goliaths, but it is very good, and TSMU is now rolling up. The 3rd is denied completely, and tanks on the high ground over here will encroach upon Crazio's territory. The natural is mining out. Only this base is what's keeping Crazio in the game, and TSMU has got the superior army at this point. The contain is complete. The Goliaths aren't there at all. There are some here, but movement for some reason is constricted. Crazio's units have not got too much room to maneuver, and that means that these forward tanks are taking a lot of damage from the wraiths, and as soon as a couple of Goliaths pop up, that gets shut down completely. But TSMU with the contain, and might soon reach this 3rd base of Crazio, which is now the only mining base Crazio has got, and that is pretty painful. Crazio's got a huge number of SCVs. I don't know where they all are. Are they all here? Probably. Still, the road to the 3rd is there, and TSMU now with a battlecruiser. And you can see the production tab. TSMU is slowly switching to battlecruisers. Crazio trying to rebuild the army. But look at this contain. How are you ever going to break that? And TSMU might try it with the Air Force, because that's basically what it is, what Crazio cannot hold at the moment. Crazio hasn't got the money and hasn't got the anti-air, so if these battlecruisers can do damage to the tanks, the Goliaths are too far in the rear, too far in the back to do any good. And TSMU has got the vessels of its own, has got the Goliaths of its own, and I wonder why you would Yamato in SCV, but let's not speculate on the motives of the mighty. And Crazio trying to defend for what it can, but TSMU is just too strong, it will not relent. And compared to Ironbot, it will not lose too many units, it can keep its units close together, but if it's pressured it may fold, so that's really the thing with Brutal AI. If you are the aggressor, the enemy will have to defend, and defending is 2 or 3 times harder than attacking, so you can always try to be the aggressor and it will almost always pay off. There is no bot which is better in defending than at attacking. And you can see that TSMU is sweeping down this end of the map with the battlecruisers, with the tanks, just putting pressure on this ramp over here. And once this base gets lost, Crazio cannot replenish anymore at all. And every tank that sticks its nose out a little bit too far gets clipped by the battlecruisers. TSMU is going completely air at the moment, just battlecruiser upon battlecruiser, a handful of raids for support. And Crazio, although it's going for more Goliaths, TSMU still got the tank count over here. And once they reach this area over here and the ramp to the third gets lost for Crazio, it's over. It's going to be absolutely over. And already it cannot move its Goliaths around the back, because then they get hit by the tanks, and from the top the battlecruisers and the raids are killing the tanks. So Crazio in a huge mess, and it really hasn't got any decent way of getting out of that. TSMU pestering it a little bit by sending some vultures from the bottom, but then it will only free up supply, and then TSMU can build more battlecruisers. And look at the damage these Valkyries are putting out. TSMU's forces, and this is nice to see. Crazio's got 19 tanks, TSMU 20. TSMU got 2 raids, 6 battlecruisers, and anti-air-wise, Crazio is okay with 25 Goliaths, but the problem is that the Goliaths cannot reach the enemy air force, because TSMU's got things so locked down with the tanks, and every time one tank of Crazio's die here, this little bit will fold in a little bit closer, and then it will be a little bit bloodier. And you can see the battlecruisers are taking their sweet time. I don't know what they are doing. Oh dear, but the air forces of Crazio are nowhere to be seen. The anti-air is completely locked down. Crazio should try and move out over here. Not doing so. This battlecruiser is going to die. It's a little bit harassy. And there it goes. But TSMU at this point has got so much money. It's impossible to beat that. And Crazio is mining out the third. So TSMU, without taking too great a risk and with a respectable battlecruiser reserve, a couple of Yamatos in the turrets would be nice, but I don't think TSMU's got much time to update his bot anymore, which is a pity. But by now, I think that Crazio is in a huge mess. And you cannot see it, I can, at the bottom right. You've got the overlay, and I've got the indicator of how much replay there is left. There is still a fair bit of replay left, so this game is going to take a little while yet. And this battlecruiser taking down one more tank, the other tank is going to retire. I think that these battlecruisers have gotten stuck on something. Here they come. And they are a little bit off on the Yamatos. Oh, that was a nice touch by Crazio. This turret can get repaired, but Crazio is completely out of money at this point. And every little bit of damage it will lose, hit points it will lose now, it's going to be a game. And TSMU, and look at Crazio hasn't got the room to maneuver anymore. There is a huge fusion of Goliaths, vultures, and the occasional tank over here. But TSMU is... oh, Crazio's gotten a third up. That's pretty impressive, despite all the pressure. Has gotten the mineral only up. Still got some gas left, so might perhaps produce a couple of more Goliaths to help and defend. TSCMU is going to fold in on Crazio. It's going to be slow, it's going to be torturous, but in the end I have no doubt that TSCMU will prevail because Crazio's only got minerals and it's trying to build what it can, mainly Goliaths. TSCMU still got this huge army and this huge bank as well. It's not really mining from depleted geysers, and I think it should because it's got only 10. Well, it's got 1,000 gas and so many minerals. And Crazio perhaps might. No, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. TSCMU's got this, and although Crazio has got 40 Goliaths at the moment and only 7 tanks, TSCMU's tank count is going to go down, so surely this cannot happen. TSCMU has overinvested in air and its air forces are not up to scratch because even with Yamato you've got 13 battlecruisers, you could take down 30 units without Crazio being able to touch it. And then you've got 4 Valkyries, 6 science vessels, and the ground forces for TSCMU aren't there. It's 12 tanks, 5 Goliaths, and that's it. But TSCMU's got the map and is mining it out mercilessly. But the battlecruisers and Crazio... Well, I'll keep the army overview tab open because right now the tanks can't really approach because Crazio's got a couple of tanks left of its own. And the battlecruisers can't approach either because there are 40 Goliaths. And now TSCMU is trying it from this angle, but it's not at all cost efficient with the battlecruisers versus the Goliaths. And TSCMU is running out of gas, is stuff. Army supply wise, it's... wow, this game is going to go on forever. A couple of nukes would be nice, but TSCMU cannot find... oh, finally it can roll up the 3rd, then get beaten back. Oh, look at that. TSCMU is losing supply like a madman. The production tab is enormous. It will make one big round of units after another and is going back to ground, and I think that's the right decision. So many units. This... ah, God, if you've got the map and you have got production all over it, your production tab can look like this. But Crazio is on the move. It's broken out and it will run out of money. And it's got only 48 army supply, and I think that maybe it's undoing. But if TSCMU cannot stop this, and I think it will because Crazio is got only 30 army supply, and TSCMU with the ground units now, the air units were not that much of a success, and is cornering some of Crazio's units over here, 2 Goliaths and 1 Vulture, and TSCMU thinks, well, yes, forget about it, I've got the map and I've got all the money in the world, I'm just going to roll it. Crazio, with a last-ditch effort, nearly broke out, but in the end could not support the push. And TSCMU taking the very last pace for the gas, and has got 44k in the bank, a nearly maxed army. The production tab is running out because, well, it's supply blocked, and now Crazio is trying to defend over here, but TSCMU, no matter what it costs, is going to break through. And look at how many units Crazio is still killing. TSCMU with the ultimate unit composition of a lot of Valkyries, and still ground forces are better than air forces. Crazio fought a heroic fight and will, in all probability, not be happy with that, but it's so very hard to do something about a Terran which plays as well as TSCMU. That is the GG. I thank you all for watching, hope to see you again next week, and all coders for your bots and games, thank you very much.